Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, details on thousands of incorrect warning letters that were sent to registered voters in Maricopa County. Also tonight, a closer look at the Ag to Urban law designed to increase housing while conserving water. And this year marks 75 years since the start of the Korean War. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The U.S. Senate today passed President Trump's domestic policy bill that cuts taxes and social safety net programs. The bill now goes to the House for final approval. The Senate vote was 51-50 in favor, with 3 Republicans against, forcing Vice President J.D. Vance to cast the tie-breaking vote. The bill extends the nearly $3.8 trillion in tax cuts enacted during President Trump's first term. The bill also adds tens of billions of dollars in new funding for the military and for border security. Critics of the bill say that it will increase the federal deficit and cut Medicaid, along with other vital programs. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly joined his fellow Democrats in voting against the bill, saying in part, quote, while families across Arizona are trying to afford groceries to take their kids to the doctor or other things, this bill gives another tax break to the ultra-wealthy who can buy another private jet. I hoped more of my Republican colleagues would have the guts to stand up to Donald Trump. Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego also voted no, saying in part, quote, this bill rigs the system even further in favor of the ultra-wealthy, and it will leave working families paying the price for years to come. All this bill does is rip away health care, gut food assistance, raise energy prices, increase our national debt, and give massive tax cuts to billionaires. But Senate Republicans say that they gave the president what he wanted, and it's now up to the House.
I don't know what's going to happen in the House. They're going to take it up pretty soon. Do they have the votes to pass exactly what we did? I don't know. I just think we delivered for the president. We gave our House colleagues a better bill than we found. It has $200 billion more in savings. The tax cuts are permanent. So I think it's a better bill from my point of view, but we'll see what they do.
But not all Senate Republicans think that they're sending a better bill to the House.
I think they're going to look at it and see that it's much less conservative than it started out to be, and it's going to add much more to the debt. And so I think without question, this is not a fiscally conservative bill. And if you're someone who thinks the debt is a problem, I don't see how you can vote for this now.
Paul voted against the bill. As for the House, Republicans can afford to lose only 3 votes, provided all Democrats, as expected, vote no. One more headline: a federal judge today ordered the Trump administration to stop plans to downsize and reorganize the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The judge ruled that the 19 states, including Arizona, that filed suit against the downsizing had shown that their cuts would be, quote, arbitrary and capricious, as well as contrary to law. The order blocks finalizing current layoffs or issuing further firings. The Maricopa County Recorder's Office recently sent out incorrect warning letters to 83,000 registered voters, and now, in efforts to remedy the mistake, letters will be sent again to those voters with the correct and originally intended information. Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republican, azcentral.com, has been covering this story. Mary Jo, good to have you here. Let's just start with what 83,000 letters sent to people mistakenly. What's going on there?
It's a mix-up as we're learning, a miscommunication between the recorder's office and the print shop that produces the letters. Maybe there's a little bit of blame to go each way, but what really blew this story up, aside from voters being alarmed to get these letters in the mail that say, have you moved? You know, if you have, then you will, we're going to take you off the voter rolls, or we'll make you an inactive voter. The other thing that drew a lot of attention to this is that Recorder Heap said, this was totally the fault of the vendor. We had nothing to do with it. We got emails that showed it wasn't quite that way. Yeah,
well, okay, I want to get to that in a second here, because that's a new twist on the story. But again, the letter was sent out saying, have you moved? And basically that what you applied for a driver's license in another state. There's a shot of the letter right there. And so if you don't do something in 90 days, you're off the voter roll?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of like routine voter list maintenance, but it's hard to believe that we would have 83,000 people in Maricopa County who have all just up and moved. Maybe I'm wrong on the demographics on that. But the letter that was intended to be sent was meant to address this glitch that was discovered last September that found that there are about 83,000 voters in Maricopa County whose registrations don't show proof of U.S. citizenship. And because in many cases, it wasn't required when they first signed up to vote or first got a driver's license, which can serve as a registration proxy. But the law now says you got to prove citizenship. These letters are saying the intended letter was supposed to help people get their citizenship status up to date in their voter records so that they can vote in the upcoming elections.
And that law changed, but that law changed like in 2004, right? I mean,
Right.
this has been kind of something that was, oh wait, what's going on?
Oh
here?
yeah, it was a problem that was, I guess, way under the surface that really didn't bubble up to much of attention until last September. Although there were, I think, a couple of efforts in 2016 that just didn't resonate.
Yeah. Okay, so the recorder, Justin Heap, sends out this letter. It's a mistake. He blames the vendor. He says it's the vendor's problem. You find out what?
Public records that we obtained show that correspondence between Heap's office and the printer showed that there's a little bit of blame to go around. But most importantly, the letter, the one that you showed, that went out to voters was approved by somebody in Heap's office. The names were redacted from the email. So they gave the go-ahead, and the printer's there to do what they say, and they sent these things out. As more information was requested, it turns out the vendor says, well, yeah, we got this mixed up with another letter that you wanted us to send out, but we sent you the link of what was going out.
Right.
But we're okay, we're not going to make a big deal out of it. We don't want to finger point. We'll send out the correct letter and we'll eat the cost.
Ooh. And this is a longtime vendor with the county, correct?
I have not checked how long. He's been portrayed as a longtime vendor.
Yes.
Recorder Heap, late Monday night, put out a news release to sort of clarify this, taking some responsibility for this, saying mostly it's a miscommunication, but that he still thinks that the bulk of the blame lies with the vendor. But the email exchange really doesn't quite support that. It's a little more nuanced.
Yeah, it doesn't quite reflect that. Okay, you mentioned that people got this letter and they had to have been surprised. You talked to some of these folks? What was the response?
Oh, it wasn't hard to find them.
Yeah.
When your voter registration's, at risk, people sort of light up. They were first confused. Some thought maybe it was identity theft. But there's ways you can check to see what your driver's license status is and what your voter registration status is. Others thought maybe this was a hack. And then they just got mad because they didn't have answers. So they called the recorder's office, and guess what? The phone lines are jammed.
Yep.
Eventually, an email did go out to people telling them, just don't worry about that letter.
Yeah,
don't worry about that letter. Nobody's voter status is at risk, and be watching your mail for a new letter.
That was the reaction of those who received the letter. What was the reaction of the Board of Supervisors?
Two that are very vocal, Chairman Thomas Galvin and Supervisor Debbie Lesko. They jumped on social media and condemned Heap for not being forthcoming about this and, chastising him, saying he should take ownership of this because their offices got flooded with phone calls from people. When they couldn't get through to the recorder's office, they're like, who represents me here in the county? And their phones got flooded.
I hear that the chairman, Thomas Galvin, says that Justin Heap owes constituents an apology.
Yeah. I don't think that's coming based on the release that we got from the recorder late last night.
It was more than that. It was like, don't hide under your desk and these sorts of things. There's the animosity between the board and recorder Justin Heap. That's not going anywhere, is it?
No, in fact, I was just going to say, can't you tell things are a little testy there? But Heap is embroiled in litigation now, challenging this agreement that the supervisors reached with his predecessor, Stephen Richer, like after Justin Heap won the election, just before he took office, that put some limits on what the recorder can do and put more responsibility over with the Board of Supervisors. He disagrees. He thinks that's in contravention of the law and actually of the Constitution. So we're in court to see what's going to happen.
A countersuit by the Board of Supervisors, right? There was a countersuit involved?
Yes. What the hope is that they will get to the bottom of solving this issue of, okay, what are the recorder's duties, what are the Board of Supervisors' duties as written in law. They've sort of bounced around over the years.
It's I don't know if we can call it irony, but voter registration is one of the things that they're kind of tussling over, and we just had a bunch of letters sent out regarding voter registration that was not accurate.
Yeah, I don't think voter registration is a real issue. It's pretty clear in the law that the recorder is in charge of that. That's
Oh, really? Okay, because I know that
that's
was
in his lane. But some of the things that he wants to do with more, it goes to equipment. Basically, wanted to
Yes,
stand up a whole nother office.
All right, but these folks, these 83,000, if you're watching right now, don't worry. The first letter was wrong, the second letter is right, and you're...
And it's in the mail, and there is a link on the recorder's website under the elections section that puts out a lot of FAQs and tries to answer questions. And we will have that link in our story when it publishes at AZ Central.
All right, Mary Jo Pitzel, Arizona Republic, azcentral.com. Great work. Thanks for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
Nezatancíme si. Din Dunaje.
Vais a hacer historia.
Ay, krása.
Johusef teki hivintä.
Governor Hobbs yesterday signed the Ag to Urban bill, which was passed by the legislature and allows developers to buy water rights from farmers as a way to boost Arizona's housing supply while conserving water. We spoke to Sarah Porter, the director of the Kyle Center for Water Policy at ASU's Morrison Institute for Public Policy. To have you here, thank you so much for joining us here as we talk about this Ag to Urban bill, which is now the Ag to Urban law. What exactly did the legislature pass and the governor sign?
The new law allows for the conversion of grandfathered agricultural rights to pump groundwater into a smaller right to pump groundwater for new development or for a different use. Think for urban development or municipal use for existing, users.
Yeah, because we keep hearing that, it's developers can buy water rights from farmers, but this development doesn't necessarily have to be homes, correct?
Right. Development can be industrial, commercial, or residential. Those are generally the forms of development that we think about.
But that is the basis here. Go ahead, please.
Well, the law, it really is designed to provide one pathway for a water supply for new development, but it's not exclusive to growth. Existing water providers could also take advantage of the law and, acquire these water rights and use them as part of their water supply portfolio.
All right. Are we talking groundwater only? Is any CAP or SRP water involved here?
No, this is entirely about groundwater. So the background is when Arizona adopted the Groundwater Management Act of 1980, the then existing agricultural water users, the farmers in the Phoenix area, Pinal County, even Tucson area, received a grandfathered right to continue to use groundwater with limitations, because the act wasn't intended to wipe them out, right? In 2023, the Arizona imposed a moratorium in the Phoenix area on using groundwater to support new development. That same type of moratorium had been imposed in the Pinal County groundwater management area in 2019. And the impact of that moratorium was that it really made it hard for developers in areas that weren't served by the bigger, the kind of bigger, older cities to find a water supply as required to support new development. So this is one pathway that opens up, the door to some additional new development. And as I mentioned before, it's also something that existing water providers could take advantage of if they, wanted to acquire those credits.
And again, the bottom line here, the basis of all this is that agriculture uses so much water. home building, we'll stick with home building now, but whatever development is involved doesn't use quite as much water. So you get more homes and you use less water. That's kind of the equation here, correct?
Yeah, that's right on. Agricultural water use, because it simply takes a lot of water to grow food and fiber. Anyone who's ever grown a plant remembers that you have to keep watering it or it dies. So agricultural water use is like 5 or 6 times the rate per acre as water that a city would use. And so that's kind of the basis for allowing this to happen. On its face, it seems like a great idea. It's going to, leave water in the aquifers, but that really depends on a number of factors, including how much agricultural land would have been retired without this law, and also how much water will be recycled, reused when it's used for that urban development. So there are quite a number of factors that make it not quite so obviously a huge water savings.
Well, I was going to ask about replenishment operations. How does this impact all that, recharging and the whole 9 yards?
Yeah. Well, replenishment is a requirement for new development that is groundwater reliant in the active management areas where we have groundwater management. And the big issue here is finding the water supplies for replenishment. Typically, we have the Central Arizona Project has an operation called the Central Arizona Groundwater Replenishment District that is responsible for replenishing groundwater that's used in new developments. The developers enroll their lands in that program. It's been harder and harder to find water supplies for replenishment. There's a shortage of Colorado River water. There's more competition for the supplies that are available. So one concern with this new law is making sure that as we go forward, we need to make sure that we don't get out ahead of ourselves and create a replenishment obligation that is much bigger than the CAP can meet.
Interesting. Okay, so the impact on the Arizona water supply, short term and at least first glance, positive. What about the environmental impact? You're losing farms and you're building urban areas.
Yeah, those are kind of issues that are to some extent outside of the scope of the legislation, and it really is, it's hard to pin them down. But yeah, the more development that occurs, the greater the risk of urban heat island, the greater the risk of, for example, depending on what happens with those ag lands, because the development won't necessarily occur on top of those farms, but the greater the risk of particulate matter, the need to mitigate particulates from fallowed fields. So those are things that will be managed by different agencies to the extent that they're managed. But it's an important issue, and I think it really highlights that any decision like this will come with a whole myriad of trade-offs that have a big impact, on the surrounding communities.
And last question, I know we're dealing with water here, and you're our water expert. But in terms of agriculture, the agriculture sector in Arizona, how big a hit?
Agriculture is not monolithic in Arizona, and the agriculture in the Phoenix area has sort of been on a glide path to retirement. It has long been the vision of people involved in land use and land development and water management to try to retire agriculture, largely because it takes so much water to grow. It is very difficult to make the case for the long-term sustainability of agriculture in the Phoenix area. Same with Pinal County. That's very different from agriculture along the main stem of the Colorado River, particularly in the Yuma area. There's a river. If it's managed right, there should be a water supply flowing by. And so when we're talking about the sustainability of agriculture from a water perspective, the conclusions in the Phoenix area, Pinal County, where we don't have an abundant surface water supply to support that agriculture, are very different from places in Arizona or the West where there is a renewable supply of water for that agriculture.
Sarah Porter,
And,
Kyle.
in the main,
go ahead, please.
I would just say that The main crop that is grown by agriculture in these areas that are now available through this kind of voluntary transaction to convert the water from an agricultural use to an urban use, the main crops that are being grown are forage crops. And, that means like alfalfa and other crops that are grown to feed animals that are used for dairy or for food. There's a big supply. There's abundant forage crops available in Arizona and the West. A lot of it is, a good amount is exported. So probably there won't be a noticeable impact on food prices as a result of this program, which will probably lead to kind of a slow conversion, as we've seen in the past, of agricultural lands to urban development.
All right, Sarah Porter, Kyle Center for Water Policy at the ASU Morrison Institute. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks a lot, Ted.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, the president's big budget bill nears final passage after approval from the U.S. Senate. It's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
This year marks 75 years since the start of the Korean War. Susan Key, a local writer and historian, is working to honor and remember those who served in what's been called the Forgotten War. Joining us now is Susan Key. Welcome to Arizona Horizon.
Thank you so much,
Good to
Ted.
have you here.
Thank you.
And we should mention, let's before we get to that, I'm talking to myself here. Let's talk about, I just mentioned this as referred by some as the Forgotten War. Is it the Forgotten War?
Not to the veterans who fought the war, not to the Korean people who have relatives who survived the war.
Yeah. Why did it get that name?
I think partly is because President Truman didn't declare war with Congress. So it wasn't technically a war that was declared in Congress. It was he went to the United Nations and asked for a resolution to answer the invasion of North Korean communists. So it was a United Nations action to defend South Korea against communist invasion.
And we should mention that it is still technically a war. I mean, this war never ended, did it?
That's correct, because a peace treaty was never signed. So technically they're still at war, and all that was signed in July 27, 1953, is an armistice agreement agreeing to stop firing on both sides.
Yeah.
And the DMZ was established as a buffer zone between North and South Korea.
And it exists still to
Yes,
this day. And boy, does
yes.
it exist. Do people know what the Korean War was all about?
I think very little people know what it was about. All they know is that North and South Korea are very divided and have become very different as a result of the war. North Korea being a very closed communist regime where people do not have any freedoms whatsoever, and South Korea developing into the flourishing economy. They're now 10th largest economy in the world,
Yeah.
and flourishing democratic government.
Doing very well. And again, the war
Yes.
was the idea of a communist takeover of the entire country.
Yes, that
All
was
right.
the whole point.
You emigrated here at the age of 9?
Yes.
So you have a little bit of memories of Korea, a lot of memories of America, and you're a strong advocate now for Korean War veterans. What sent you on that path?
God. I was actually working in the corporate world, and I got kind of tired and burned out of my corporate job. It was kind of meaningless. And so I asked God, what should I do with my life? And after a lot of soul searching and prayer, I felt God was telling me to do something about what I'm most grateful for. And I'm most grateful that I'm alive and free, and that I'm not in a place like North Korea, where people who live in North Korea have no freedoms to speak of. So I realized, my goodness, this is the country that sent these heroes to save my parents during the war. I need to meet them and thank them.
Yeah, and when you first met them, and even now when you meet them, because there are fewer of these people around, the folks are getting awfully old here. What do you think?
I'm kind of in awe when I meet them. It's humbling, because as 17, 18-year-old boys, they went off to a place they didn't even know. And to have the courage to die for someone else's freedom is beyond anything I can ever understand, that kind of greatness.
Do younger Korean Americans and Koreans, do they understand that sacrifice? Do they understand what went on?
I think the South Korean government does a great job of honoring veterans. They sponsor trips for Korean War veterans from America and the other 21 United Nations to come to be honored. And then I think the local Korean Americans that live here, for the most part, they don't know very much about the Korean War. So when I meet with Korean communities, they don't even know their own history.
Yeah.
So it's very important to teach our youth so that we never forget the sacrifices that America has made for South Korea.
And that's certainly what you have done with your life. You have a new documentary, Final Journey Korea. You're also writing a book?
I'm not writing a book, but I write a lot of short Facebook posts.
Oh,
I have a
okay,
Facebook
okay.
page where I write veteran stories, and I also write about different battles that happened during the war to teach people about the Korean War.
How best to honor Korean War veterans?
I think the best way is to document their stories because, as you said, they are now in their mid-90s, and we're losing them day by day, and the numbers get fewer. So to document their stories, to preserve that for this generation and future is so important because it has been forgotten for so long. We need to make it known, and that future generations will appreciate what America has done for South Korea to save a country.
A little more rewarding than that corporate gig, huh?
A lot more.
Yeah,
a lot more.
Well, congratulations. I know the Korean War Memorial talks about those who answer the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met. It doesn't get much better than that. Congratulations on all your work, and thank you for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Ted. Thank you for having me.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.